uploaded a picture of him with Shahrukh. I have access to you. How do you have access to Shahrukh Khan? It's a very interesting story on how I first, landed my internship. The students I saw there studying, I'm like, where are these people staying? Because everyone is foreigner, right? Because I don't come across them in, in the daily life. And there is also the other side where I sort of volunteer with this organization called Udayan Shalini, and that is where I, sort of mentor a lot of kids who come from extremely underprivileged backgrounds. Like their whole family income for a month is 10,000, and I think sort of sometimes my Uber bills are more than that.
What happened every time I post something, I had that urge to, every half an hour check, hey, what's the engagement like?
Right, with LinkedIn you cannot do that. When you are indulging in likes, comments, and all those things, and saying that these are my metrics, you need to understand how does that add value to your journey.
For someone who's genuinely seeking to grow on LinkedIn, what is your top advice for them? What do you say that people should use AI, or what is the right way of doing it?
So yeah, I did have an app idea sometimes. So I just dropped him a text and told him, can we get on a call? This is an app idea. And then he was very gracious and he was like, yeah, sure, let's talk. And then I called him up and we started discussing it. And then he kind of saw the loopholes that I did not see, because he works very closely with the government. So it sort of made sense for us to identify that these are the barriers in the app. So I think that a lot of this is like that, like, because I feel so many people have helped me along the way, it is sort of my responsibility to also, like, whoever reaches out to kind of help them as well. So I think that's how it has just been passed down. So I have been very lucky, which is why this question about mentors and life lessons is so hard for me, because there have been so many along the way that I don't think I can just do justice and be like, oh, this has been a person.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for all those people who subscribe. And if you're listening to this, we were talking about Mr. Jadhav, one of the professor from St. Xavier's. We're just talking about how Sharon and I both had the privilege of learning a lot of life lessons from this man. And I'm not sure, Mr. Jadhav, if you're listening, but thank you so much for just being yourself. You had a huge
I'm going to send this to him for him to see.
You had an impact on so many people's life. People you don't even know possibly now, but just being a teacher is amazing. And I think you come from a family background where everyone is a teacher. Was that the first thought that, hey, you know what, maybe I should also become a teacher? Was that one of the options that you had?
No, that was the only option I had. There was no one option. I was studying to become a teacher because in my family, it is by design that you are just, if you are born in this family, you become a teacher. So I was the first of the cousins from my mother's side of the family. And when I deviated from the whole teaching thing, then eventually everybody started seeing that, okay, there are other options. There are other things that you can do. But it was literally, I'll tell you how ingrained this is, because one of my aunts had a baby and I texted one of my friends saying that, hey, it's a girl. And she said, congratulations, another teacher in the house. And I'm like, this is just public knowledge. This is just public knowledge that every person born in my house is going to become a teacher. So yeah, that is how I was studying to become a teacher. And I was supposed to do, like, I think DEd after my 12th standard, but my parents, I told them ki I really love Xavier's and would it be okay if I sort of complete my graduation from the same college? And they were like, yeah, you study masters, you study till PhD, we are okay to fund you. And I'm like, okay. So I then did my graduation. And it's a very interesting story on how I first, landed my internship. So basically, one of our seniors from BMM. So I was in arts. So somebody from BMM, whom I knew through some of the extracurricular activities or
Malhar,
something.
for sure.
He uploaded a picture of him with Shahrukh Khan. And I'm like, what is this? Like, we are in college, and how, you are in the same arena as me. So I have access to you. How do you have access to Shahrukh Khan? So for me, that became like a very big thing. So I texted him out of nowhere, being like, listen, you are, and I met him like once or something in life, but I have no shame. I'm just like, this is very, this is a very curious thing for me. So I texted him and I told him, how did you do this? And he's like, I interned with Red Chilies. And I'm like, okay, what is an internship? And then he sort of told me that, what you do, whatever place you want to work with, just put the name of the company and put internship opportunities. So I did that. And I didn't really want to work at Red Chilies per se because the production thing, I just put internships, and then I stumbled upon Internshala, and through Internshala, I sort of applied to the internship and the first internship that I interviewed for, which was sort of like a sister project of Akansha Foundation, which was called ISLI, where we sort of train the principals of underprivileged schools, because the belief was that teachers come and go, but principals stayed. So I was then sort of hired as an intern, where my boss, like, she was one of the biggest influences in my life, Shrutika. She was my first boss. I keep till today, every time she puts a post on LinkedIn also, I say like, yes, boss, like, you have taught me this. And because she was the one who taught me how to like send emails, get emails, and to take up an intern who is so naive at everything was a big kudos on her part as well. So we together, like, it was a 3-4 people team, because it was just a project that was launched. But then we did a lot of events, and we used to call these principals in schools like American School of Bombay. And when I went to that school, I'm like, the students I saw there studying, I'm like, where are these people staying? Because everyone is foreigner there, and you have other Afro-American kids and like multiple diverse backgrounds to come from. And I was like, where are they staying? Like, because I don't come across them in in the daily life. And that's when I think that was my first introduction of hierarchies, that we stay in, like, what status are you staying in, what locality are you staying in, how do you kind of lead your life in Mumbai. And there is so much, I keep telling people that there is so much you don't know. Like, the more I learn about things, like recently also I went for a meeting at I think it was at Taj Santa Cruz, in the private access space, and I'm like, what is this world, right? So there is so much of privilege, luxury that exists that you don't know of. And there is also the other side where I where I sort of volunteer with this organization called Udayan Shalini, and that is where I sort of mentor a lot of kids who come from extremely underprivileged backgrounds. Like, their whole family income for a month is 10,000, and I think sort of sometimes my Uber bills are more than that. So it is very surprising to see how they are living their life. So I think I do see these extremes on both the ends. And that's when I tell people that there is so much that you don't know. So when you're creating an opinion, or when you're making an opinion on something, you have the entire picture, which is why I'm never impressed by people saying that, hey, you know what, this company got like 100 crores in funding, or this founder is now like a billionaire. Because I have seen, like, I was in a space which was in startups, right? Like, there were 35-40 startups there, and I have seen each of these startups, how PR is used, how you sort of don't show the numbers, how there is so much to uncover. And I think this was this was one of the posts that went really well on LinkedIn for me, was when there was this random image of saying that Ambani makes like these many crores in like a second. What are you doing with your life, and things like that. And I put out a post saying this is so bullshit. Firstly, there is no statistics or data on this. Also, he's making a crore on that, firstly because he comes from a family that has helped him build that. There is a whole team of people. And would you be okay to sort of have that kind of PR and interference in your life at that stage? Even celebrities making money, like, would you be okay? So there is also like a give and take, but I feel like everyone's thinking has become so one dimensional that you put up a post and then you are not thinking about like the what is the background to this, or where did this come from, what is the data behind this. Even in data, when you see like they're like, oh, 80% of women are doing this, or 90% of men are doing that, and then you sort of read the entire paper and realize that they had sort of taken like 20 people in consideration, so like 80% of those 20 people. So these are things that I think that you need to think through when you're sort of engaging with any kind of content or just life in general.
That's a very important thing that you said, and this was not, by the way, one of the questions that I had, but now because you're saying, I might as well ask, what we see on social media, I've heard this a lot of time, and do let the audience also know if there's any truth to it, that whatever you see on social media is not real. There are very few people who would be, and it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable and be your authentic self on social media, whether it's LinkedIn and platforms like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Uh, People are just putting up a mask just because they have to, fear of missing out or possibly just to be liked. But you chose to work on LinkedIn, right? Uh, not the, I mean, you are also on Instagram, I understand. One of the thing, and what happened to me is, when I was starting out on my LinkedIn journey, or to grow on social media, I found myself in that loop where every time I post something, I had that urge to, every half an hour check, hey, what's the engagement like? How many view I'm getting? Are
Yeah.
people actually coming to my channel to, my LinkedIn post? They're liking, not liking, and it used to bother me a lot, because sometimes I used to do amazing post, and this is all before ChatGPT. Okay, so I used to honestly take the time to write a big article, and I thought this is amazing. People are going to love it, and hardly like two people. Uh, but I see a lot of other people whose posts are just going viral and people like it. So you have worked with LinkedIn. What would you suggest, for all those people who are watching or possibly want to grow on LinkedIn? Uh, the algorithm is changing. What are some of the practical tips you will give them, and also, show them the real mirror? Hey, you know what? This is what it is. Don't just get carried away. See the real truth. What is your advice to people who are
Yeah,
possibly
so
looking
I
for this?
think you sort of fairly pointed out that I am on LinkedIn, which is my job, and then I am on Instagram as well, which is more sort of like a personal brand thing, right? Vastly different. Even the content that I produce, even if it is the same piece, the way I put it on LinkedIn versus the way I put it on Instagram is entirely different, right? And what I tell people is, so if you know about my agency, so Quirky Media works only with LinkedIn, and I have had requests from people saying that also, can you handle our Instagram? Can you handle our Twitter? And I've said no to it, and there is a reason. Because one is, if we go to the history of who LinkedIn was built by, or Instagram was built by, that is very important, right? Instagram, X, all of these places are sort of deriving their income from the ads that you are running. LinkedIn is not doing that. LinkedIn does something called as LinkedIn trainings, which it derives its maximum income from. So you need to also understand that the perks that you have on Instagram, which says that, oh, if you keep pumping in money, your post will keep getting more views, is not the same that you can do on LinkedIn, because it is not, the content engine is not driven by the money that you're putting in, right? It is driven by extreme quality content. And if you read up a little bit on LinkedIn's origins, the founders of LinkedIn, you will understand the kind of tech background that they come from, and how strict LinkedIn is, which is why everything that you do has to be so critical. Even if you sort of have any minor guideline risk, it flags your account and says that you can't post anymore, right? So this all sort of are elements that people don't think of when posting. So when I talk about what you're posting on LinkedIn, one is to understand that there needs to be a little bit of boundary between professional and personal life, right? I'm not saying don't put in your personal opinions. I'm not saying don't talk about your trips, but it has to tie back to the profession that you're in, or tie back to the professional life that you're in. So sometimes I do see these posts which are like, hey, we were on vacation and I got married and this was like 10 life lessons or whatever, which is fine. But that's, if you want to create that kind of content, feel free. I personally am not a great fan of that kind of content. I do like diving into a little bit of industry insights. I do like sharing a lot of the work that I do in spaces. So something that I post on Instagram, most of the times I don't post on LinkedIn, because I'm like, this is not like professional, something that will be professionally accepted. So I think that is definitely one thing to keep in mind. But I do recommend whoever wants to grow on LinkedIn, first is to go and read the history of how LinkedIn started, how it was grown. A lot of people now also don't know that Microsoft owns it, compared to the earlier founder, who now sold LinkedIn, right? So all of these things are important. Why? Because it derives how the platform is run. So algorithms are secondary. That is is something that is where how your post performs, but who is the one who's created it, who is the one creating the algorithms, their background, their mindset matters, and that you can see getting reflected both in Instagram and on LinkedIn, right? What is the driving force behind Instagram content? With Instagram, it's a completely fair deal, that if I say that, hey, I put in 10 rupees, you show it to so many people, right? With LinkedIn, you cannot do that. Ads are so minimal on LinkedIn, and so expensive, so you have to be of a certain company type to run ads on LinkedIn. So I think that becomes something that's extremely important when you're kind of creating content on either of the platforms. And when you think of authenticity, I feel like so if I have to talk about authenticity, I feel like the definition differs for everybody. Something that is authentic for me may not be for someone. I'm like, ethics play a major important role here. I feel like sometimes you're just so unethical about the things you're putting out. Like, for example, saying that hey, from 10 of my clients, 9 clients got a business deal, right? But how long has it been? Like, what is the time period? Like, creating content pieces where people think that, oh, it's so easy to do this, or just because you want them to work with you, of saying that, okay, yes, and maybe it's not lies, it's just that you're not disclosing the full truth. That is what is problematic, right? Of saying that, I see so many of these posts of saying that, hey, like, from 10 of my clients, these people got these many impressions, this much, like, this is the reach. Yeah, but over what period of time? What did you do exceptionally? Like, was the content done on somebody's profile who already has a lack of followers? So if you're saying that, hey, this content hit like 2 lakh impressions, if I already have a lakh followers, that part of it is derived from there. So even if 10 people go, sort of comment on it, what was the content of the post? Was it rage bait? That is also becoming very important, right? So you're putting in content where you're deriving rage bait. So all of these elements are something that you need to sort of keep in mind when you are consuming. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because you kept talking about the likes and all those things, right? So when you are indulging in likes, comments, and all those things, and saying that these are my metrics, you need to understand how does that add value to your journey, right? So whenever I onboard any client, one of the few things I ask them is, what is it that is important to you? So you don't come and tell me that, hey, my competitors are hitting like 10,000 views and 30,000 views or whatever that is, right? What is it is that important to you? You are here for leads. We will ensure that you are getting leads, and impressions become the byproduct, right? But if you're here for branding, then we define what your metrics are. So one is understand why you're on LinkedIn. Are you on LinkedIn to just for vanity and saying that, hey, yes, I will keep posting and gain followers, and that is my journey? Or are you on LinkedIn of saying, hey, I want to close leads? Then make that your metrics and see how your content is getting inbound leads. So I think defining that becomes very important on LinkedIn when you're creating any sort of content.
Quite interesting. Some of this I knew, but there's a lot that I keep learning. And I remember, as I said right at the start in part one also, 2023, I checked our chat history, right? So 2023, July sometime is when I had reached out to you. It was one of your posts, and you said, if you need help to grow on LinkedIn, here's a simple strategy: sign up, and I'll send you. And I remember getting like a PDF with 30 days content plan. And it had like a very clear thing as to you have to introduce yourself to the network every couple of months maybe, because new followers coming, introduce yourself, talk to them, what are you here for, what you're trying to achieve. And those were very important things. If there is someone who's looking to grow on LinkedIn as such, because they want to reach out to more people, and I see some of those people, again, as you rightly said, we should not be only looking at numbers, impressions, because I know some of the impressions that a lot of people are able to generate is because they are added to certain unethical groups, I would say.
Pods.
Yeah, pods. And you have to. So Maridas has done a post. Sharon and her entire team, they are supposed to come and engage on the post. Only then they get to post their own content. I saw that for like just 48 hours. I said I had to exit that group, and then I realized all these numbers doesn't really matter. But for someone who's genuinely seeking to grow on LinkedIn, what is your top advice for them? Possibly someone who's looking to uh, you know reach out to people maybe for a job. They are looking to possibly seek for some job? Any shortcuts, any tricks?
So one is definitely to genuinely engage with the person's content. So a few things that people don't get right is that they are creating content, but they're not engaging enough. So I feel that even if, so typically if you want to really grow on LinkedIn, then you do 2 posts a day, right? That is a basic thing if you want to really,
Okay.
really grow on LinkedIn. But
2 posts.
what I then think is that if you do not want to put that kind of time and effort to create that much quality content, you do say 1 post a day or like 1 post alternate days, but make sure that on a daily basis you are engaging with other people's content, right? And that should not be like a thanks or a congratulations or good work. Those are not engagement comments, right? Genuinely go on, even if it is just like 10 or 12 good posts, and put in a good 3-4 liner comment which will start a discussion. I think whenever I do comments, that is my thing, is I really want to do a comment on this. It is not for engagement purposes, but you have to become known on LinkedIn by commenting, by engaging. Even all the people that you are looking for, say for example, if I had to if I had to look for a job today, what I would do is I would make a list of 10-15 people who are from the companies that I want to work in, right? Probably from the marketing department if I'm looking for a marketing job, or like the CEO of startups if it's a startup, right? Identify those 10-15 people and then start engaging with their content. Again, a question is that what if they're not creating content? Engage by endorsing, like endorse, okay? Just go and endorse them. The minute you endorse them, you see a notification saying this person has endorsed you. And my first thought is, why would this person endorse me? So just out of curiosity, I go check the person's profile. When I am coming to your profile, make sure that I have a step-by-step guide on how can I hire you, right? Like first thing is to say that you're open to a
Work.
job or
Yeah.
open to hiring. List out all your achievements in your about section, which is like a proper snapshot of what your career has been. Make your headline extremely strong. And all of these things are something that I feel like whatever LinkedIn is offering you for free, which is the profile, you're not even doing that entirely before you go into a sales navigator or a LinkedIn premium. I'm like, LinkedIn offers so much for free. Like, so these are some things that you can do. You don't have to, and don't ever just go and send a connection request. That's the worst thing that you can do. Always engage with the person for a good 5 to 6 days, because when you send a connection request, that's when they know who this connection request has been come from. Because every day I am seeing their name. So if I see your name every day in my notifications and I'm like, why are you engaging? And at some point you send me a connection request, I'm like, okay, it makes sense because we've been having so much back and forth.
So
So
build a
that is
relationship.
something that you should do.
Yeah, we build a
Yeah.
relationship sort of. Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. That is a really good advice. I have, and I'll accept this in front of the audience also. I've made that share of mistake where I have sent connection requests to people, and the first thing that I tried, the minute they accepted is, hey, you know what? This is what I do. Would you be interested in my service? And ghosted.
Yeah.
And I realized that what I should have done rather would have been build that sort of relationship with them, genuinely interested in, is there something I can offer them without asking them to possibly give me that all their money, but something that I could genuinely do. Look at what they are into and get to know them at least professionally, obviously. And then if there is something that I would want to then say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Would you be interested? Ask politely. But I've made that mistake. I'll be very open. Have made this mistake. A lot of people these days rely on AI. Would you suggest that it is okay for us to just do AI? Because I know there is a lot of bot for LinkedIn also. So it does everything. And the first thing that I see on someone's post is all those emojis, all those fonts, and are like,
Yeah.
okay, this is AI for sure. AI for sure. One of the best hack, and this may not work for always, but one of the best hack, and I read it a few months ago about this guy who said, even if you're doing something from like a chat GPT, first read the entire content, and while you're posting, maybe in the entire thing, just make a tiny spelling error. And I like, what doesn't even make sense. And he's like, you make a tiny error on purpose, grammatical error, right in the first few sentences. And what happens is sometimes the reader is like, hey, this guy is so stupid. He's made a grammatical error, and they
Yeah.
just want to find out more errors, in your post. But they end up actually reading the entire thing. I'm not sure if this hack actually works. And maybe it just works once in a while, but something that would be.
Yeah, if you're making constant errors, then they're like, this person just doesn't know to write.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Especially in the age of AI. But would you say
Yeah.
that people should use AI? What is the right way of doing it? If they have to post something?
I think people should use AI, but not to write, which is exactly what I've been thinking about for the last few days, right? Because I keep getting ad from a certain company, which is like, come learn LinkedIn in 5 days or so, and things like that,
They're
right?
sending this to you.
And a lot of the and a lot of the conversation around that is, hey, I'll give you like a 30-day plan. Just put these kind of prompts on ChatGPT. It will, have these kind of posts, and then you just keep posting. You need to realize what is it saying about you as a person.
Right.
Because if you're pumping in content that is so AI driven, one, I have lost respect for you even before I work with you. Okay.
Right.
So like even before I like reach your profile. Because AI content is so easily understandable. It is so bad because now we writers cannot use M dashes, because every time we use M dashes, they're like, okay, this is AI content, right?
Right.
And apart from the M dashes, just removing M dashes doesn't help, because now what is happening is, because you are feeding AI content to AI, the language is all the same. Like you will never see words like henceforth. Like I have never seen AI generate henceforth, right? Because nobody is using that. You are using like you're using whether, like whether this or that, or this is a common thing, right? Of saying that not just this, but also this. And this comes in every post. So you can see, when you're a writer and like when you're seeing these things, it is very easily be identifiable that this is, AI content. Where you should use AI, I feel, is to do the research part of things, like of saying that, hey, what are the top 5 industry insights that I currently have, that can be helped in the next 1 year. Okay. And then it gives you like, say, 5 different things. And then you also ask for reference articles. Go read those articles. From that articles, pick something that has resonated with you, and then take that and then create a post on it. That makes sense. Okay. And then when you run it through AI, you, instead of using Chat GPT to check your grammar, use Grammarly, because that is what it does for you. It checks your grammar for you, right? What Chat GPT does is it just changes sentences sometimes. So use Grammarly, which is a much better tool for checking your content. Now, see, even in this, you are taking a lot of AI's help, and the time is getting reduced. Okay. But it is not something where it is entirely AI driven. So in this sense, the content that you're creating becomes very meaningful, and add a lot of your opinions. Like, okay, I have heard this. Like, I feel like when you're doing AI kind of content, there are no opinions, or there is no suggestion, or like a note of saying like, okay, this is what I feel about this topic. And the minute I see that that element is missing, I know that most of this is AI, because I'm not adding my viewpoint to this. And if you're creating content, it better be from your viewpoint, right? Because then I have something different. Because then what is the difference between you and somebody else creating the same kind of content? Like, I feel like people who are creating like 5 things to do on LinkedIn, or like 5 ways to write content on LinkedIn without using AI. So even when you're doing these things, my point is, unless it has a story which has your life in it, of saying that, hey, this is when I'm doing this, of 5 ways on how to create content without using AI. And my first point is that research from AI tools, but don't use it. I will have a life story that I will put into it, even if it is an incident for 2 or 3 lines. That, I think, massively changes the way you create content on LinkedIn.
Quite interesting. I'm going to obviously use some of the tips that you have suggested, and requesting all the viewers also, if you're looking to grow on LinkedIn, take some serious notes. And this is years and years of knowledge and experience that has been coming out in just a couple of sentences. But if you can, please make the most out of this. Here's an interesting question, Sharon. The previous guest on the podcast, I've asked them whether they would be interested to do maybe like a follow-up. And I'm not even calling it a master class. I rather call it as a learner class, because all of us are learning.
Okay.
So But if you would be ever interested to do maybe like 60 minutes, I will check if people are interested, maybe to grow. If they could actually have their question answered, because someone reached out to me also to say, hey, you know what, we want to grow on LinkedIn. I have this set of managers. Can I do a session? I had to tell them I cannot, because I'm not a LinkedIn growth expert. I struggled my way through growing my network. In fact, only recently I've realized something that I keep telling. Uh, Before this podcast, all these people, except for a handful, all of these people were just a LinkedIn connection. It is only through the podcast that I'm actually getting to know them personally, just getting to know what they actually do. Otherwise, they were just one LinkedIn connection for me. Now they're becoming more like a teacher, a guide, mentor, people I can reach out to. So the first person who appeared on the podcast, the other day I reached out to him saying that, hey, what, I've got this job offers. What should I do? So I could actually rely on him because he's like, okay, this is practical. You should think about it from all this aspect. Did you have any mentors? I know you said there's so many, but that friend of yours who said, you have to register your company in order to scale. Uh, what is that guy's name? That guy, that girl, whoever it is. Who is this person? Because I think that huge influence on your journey.
His name is Rishabh Rawat, and he is, I think, when he has always been somebody who has helped me push my boundaries. Now, would I put him in the mentor category? Probably not, because he's a very close friend. So I think that mentorship can come to you in different formats. What I think I learned from that experience is being surrounded by the right kind of people. And I think that that is what I have been very lucky in life, where the network that I have built and the people that I usually surround myself with are so giving, and they themselves are so knowledgeable about things that they do, that it becomes a byproduct that I get the benefits of what they are learning. Like Rishabh, for the longest time, apart from just me getting to register my company over the years, has pushed me to increase my cost, understand that, hey, this is not a big amount, people in the industry are charging a lot more, and all those things, right? So he has done this, and I don't think he was intentional about it, where he's like, hey, yes, I want to sort of mentor you or things like that. It was not like that. It was like, I am seeing this girl and I'm seeing her struggle with these nonsensical things, and then I will just interrupt and say, hey, you know what, this is not how you do it. So I think that was the kind of work with which he came in. Like, it was just friendly advice, which then got implemented. So I think over the years, and in fact on LinkedIn also, I did meet a mentor similarly, where I was just like, hey, can you help me do this and things like that, when I was starting out my LinkedIn. And that time I didn't this was Quirky Media initially started as a content agency, and only in the last 3 years has it gone completely into LinkedIn. We still do content for websites and all those things, but it is something now that is LinkedIn focused, is just the last 3 years. Other than that, we were doing all sorts of things, right? And that's when I had reached out to this person who's from Pune and I'm from Mumbai. And I kept talking to him, he kept guiding me. I also did end up meeting him in Pune. And when I spoke to him, I asked him this question, like, why would you mentor me? And I genuinely looked up to him as a mentor. So I'm not taking his name because I'm not sure how comfortable he's with that. But just like, I asked him, like, why did you sort of, mentor me? And his response was, because at some point you should pass it forward. Like, somebody did this for me and I am doing it for you, and then you do it for somebody else. So I think that in my journey, like I said, that I have met so many people who have done things selflessly, that it just doesn't make sense for me to, be so rigid and say that, hey, I won't help you, because I truly believe that we live in a world of abundance, whether it is money, knowledge, time, whatever it is. We do live in a world of abundance. So there is nothing you can take from me. And I think these are few things that I learned in my Xavier's journey as well, where knowledge sort of became my power. So everything that you take, eventually you cannot take the knowledge out of me. And somehow I would be able to bounce back, build from scratch and things like that. Like, so I feel that there are so many people in my life who have so selflessly given to me, been there throughout the journey, that it just feels so unfair to even take names, just because there have been so many along the way, right? Even BNI as a whole, like when I joined BNI, I was 23. And I was like, I had no idea what networking means. I didn't know you network for business. All of my business was coming through like word of mouth, referrals, and things like that. And I joined this network, and I think within the first 6 months of joining, BNI, they chose me to become president. And then they were like, why don't you become the president of this chapter? And I was like, okay. And then there were like 35 plus entrepreneurs, and I'm the president. And I'm like, I think this is,
Amazing.
you all have made a mistake. But then they sort of like mentored me through it. Then I also, in BNI itself, I went ahead, launched a chapter which was 35 plus, and there has been a lot of life experiences. But I'm so thankful to that platform, which said that, so BNI for me is like a gold mine, right? We are like 5 lakh, they have 5 lakh people across the globe, and they're saying, hey, here's your tool. Something that you do with LinkedIn is something that you do with BNI, where they're like, hey, here's your tool, you go figure. So today, if I want to say, hey, I want to talk to 10 people, I can do that. Same thing on LinkedIn. If you decide that, so this is my biggest thing, right? Where people are like, oh, this is hard, whom do I speak to? If today you decide that, hey, I want to 10 clients, and if your conversion ratio, if is like from 10, every one client gets converted, right? So that means you need to speak to 100 people to have those 10 clients. Divide that 100 people over a month, and just start talking to people. And I'm taking like a very conservative conversion ratio, right? And even in that, within the next month, you will have 10 clients. So what is this? I don't understand this question of, oh, I need a setup, and I need this, and I need that. And no, you don't need. You need, so which is what every time I do this Q&A sessions and things like that, I keep telling people, I will give you the advice, but would you implement it? That is where it goes wrong, and which is why people don't get it, this about competition. That when I tell my clients or things like that, in the first meeting only, I'm like, this is how you can solve your LinkedIn problem, this is how you can fix your profile and things like that. And people are like, but Sharon, you are already telling me what to do. And I said, yes, but are you going to go and do it? Like, I know you're not going to go and do it. Like, I don't have anything. I will give you the blueprint. Like, stay after call, I will give you the full blueprint day by day to say that this is what you need to do. Will you do it? So that is the biggest thing.
Yeah, for all those people who are watching, let me tell you, if Sharon is recommending something, you have to do it. I did it for myself. It worked wonders. But I honestly recommend all of you to do it. Perfect. Because we are running short on time, there's just 1 minute. If you could just say in 1 minute, is this, giving meaning to your life, that, you are able to help people, you're able to reach out. If you had to possibly write down a will of your life, that is to say, obviously not the material possession, but something that you would want people to remember you in maybe just 30 seconds. What is that one thing, that one or two things people should remember about Sharon?
I think for me, if I have to be remembered, it would surely be as somebody who helped others. Like, I think that is my life's purpose. I think I'm living it. Most of it is something that, like I said, happens by default. But it would just be to use my knowledge to help whoever comes across from my life. Like, anybody who comes, I want myself to be an addition to their life and not a subtraction. So, yeah.
Wow, that is beautiful. And I think that is the same mission that we're trying to do over here, is help as many people as we can. Maybe through the podcast, maybe through getting all this amazing guests. But there's a lot I have learned. I've noted it down, and I'll try and do justice to the video also, so that all this can be incorporated also. If you have not yet followed Sharon, the link is in the description. Check her LinkedIn page, as well as follow her on Instagram. And thank you so much for tuning in once again. Thank you, Sharon, for giving us this time. It was an absolute pleasure to interact with you.